what does that bring us to Amarillo? Well, Melissa wanted to see the project we had in Waco, and that's where we were introduced. And at that time, she looked over and she said, "Would you guys, have you been to Amarillo?" And we said, "No. Would you like to come and talk to us about a project?" And so we came here, and we started looking at the area. And one of the critical components of a public-private partnership is also having a qualified, quality public partner. And what we found in this community is a city with a AAA bond rating, the third lowest tax rate, depending on how you slice it. It's above 100,000, it's the second. I'm giving definitely. If it's all the cities, you're third, for sure, it's second. Dean Frigo from the city, he and I argue about that. But you have the third lowest tax rate in the state of Texas. The median home price is about $125,000. Given that tax rate, that means that the average citizen pays $360 approximately in property taxes to the city per year, $1 a day. For $1 a day, you get police, fire, sewer, water, streets, roadways, parks, recreation, libraries, a variety of services. You have access to an airport. You have a number of things that come. What we recognize is that there is quality leadership in the elected body and also quality leadership in the appointed body. You have a tremendous city here, a foundation that's strong. And that is a foundation that you need to have if you're going to have a public-private partnership with a good public partner. So we looked going forward, and we recognized that from 2007, 2008, there had been a study done, and there had already been a significant amount of public input. And we looked at the projects that were envisioned, and there had been a market study that was done on the hotel. One of the other elements that had come out was a multi-purpose venue. Notice I don't say baseball stadium. And a multi-purpose venue, and the difference is that a multi-purpose venue, you will have professional minor league baseball. But if all you do is professional minor league baseball, that means that 48 to 60 games per year is about all you have. What do you do with the other 300 days a year? You're going to have an expensive project that is not worthwhile. But if you can take that asset and coordinate it with the Globe News Center, with the Civic Center, and use those facilities and design those facilities and have an operator for those facilities that not only provides baseball, but also brings other opportunities to the community, you can have a success. You also need to address the parking. There's a common perception parking we've got. There's not any parking downtown. We've also seen the studies that show that 30% is about all that's ever used with available parking. Okay? But where's the parking? And so we need to look at it. These things do develop. Where's the parking in relation to those assets and make sure that that works. One of the things that we looked at was the strength of the Civic Center. It's an asset that the city developed many years ago. And the city recognized that that is an asset like your home. If you have an asset, you need to maintain it. You get wood rot on your house and you don't take care of it while you're expanding and adding an addition, ultimately you're going to have a problem. Well, part of this house, part of this fabric of this community is the Civic Center. The city started, not too long ago, undertook a facilities assessment. They hired Declan Sabatini and HVS to undertake a facilities assessment to look at the Civic Center to determine what assets it had available, what worked, what didn't work, how could they make the best out of that facility, and what changes might need to be made. That study is working along with us as we evaluate these other opportunities to make sure as we come back to the city with a recommendation, we've considered all of that. So why a hotel and why a multi-purpose venue? First, as you look at that asset, the Civic Center, the folks that program meetings for those spaces, they start to look at the number of hotel rooms that are in close proximity. Previously, the city has solved the problem. The CVB, the managers of the Civic Center, have solved the problem by providing buses. It would provide as many buses as someone needed. It's not an ideal situation, but they've also encountered with the rising prices, so now they provide 2 buses. So when you start to look at the people to attract, if they're looking for downtown hotel rooms, and with the opening of the FIS, which is a wonderful place, by the way, because that's where we stay when we come into town, you now have 85 rooms. Where are you going to fill the rest of them? So they're challenged with the ability to bring events to that Civic Center, even as it is today. The next thing you face when you're competing for events to come to the Civic Center is what else are they going to do? If you've gone to any events at any other conventions, you don't just look at the event that's there, you want to know what else is around it. And oftentimes walking distance around that is important because you get to some place, you don't know the community very well, if you can walk to it, you'll do that. So that's important. And the idea of having the Globe News Center, the multi-purpose venue that might have a baseball game going on, it might have other activities, then that's something that should be considered. One of the questions that's come up from these meetings is, aren't you going to compete with the Civic Center Globe News Center? Not if you program it correctly. There's some, for example, some concerts that only perform outdoors. So you can take the batter's eye wall of the baseball area and have it programmed so you can plug in a stage easily and make it easy for people to come and do business in that center. Going forward, where are we at? I'm going to do this from memory. Without my cues. Where are we at? In February 15th, we signed an agreement with the city of Amarillo. We started looking at a path forward. Our goal was to evaluate the financial feasibility, the market feasibility, of the business feasibility of these projects. And over the time frame, go through and develop costs for those projects, identify operators for those projects, identify budgets for those projects, identify funding for those projects. Again, if a public-private partnership is to be done, the community should only participate to the extent that there's a gap between the cost of the project, how much private sector loans and equity investment you can bring in. The difference between that's the gap. The community should only fill that gap if the benefits, the direct and indirect benefits that they receive from that project, sales taxes, the property taxes, the hotel occupancy taxes, those things that come off of that project exceed, or at least meet, the cost of their investment. In some cases, you look at things as a specific return on investment. How do you measure that? That's what the community ends up coming to. For example, a park. How many people, when a park gets built, ask what's the return on investment of the park? And yet it's something we all benefit from. It's a qualitative versus a qualitative type of assessment. It's what it means to you. And if you develop houses around it, you need parks. It's someplace for people to go. And so there's a qualitative element, the impact, and that's what we didn't recognize in Town Square originally until people started coming to the plaza, until it became an icon for the community. So, we, by the end of August, have promised the City Commission to have done a business analysis, take a look at the costs, the operators, take a look at the revenue streams, the money that we can bring to the table. From a private sector side, we've also been looking at other funding sources that are available to help fund any gap that's available, and come back with a series of recommendations. We also don't believe that you can have a successful public-private partnership unless you've reached out to the community. So we have been meeting over the last month with a number of people. We've had small group meetings, individual meetings, medium-sized group meetings, and we're holding these open forums. Had 5 of them, started last Thursday and 4 this week. The goal of this is to come back and to give you a course for where we're at and where we're going. Then, we're going to come back in late June, early July with an update to be able to tell you, here's the process we've been through, and here's where the information is leading us, to get additional input. From the meetings, 3 of the 4 meetings we've had already this week, one of the things that has come directly out of those meetings is there has been a strong contingent on all but one of the meetings asking about aquatics and asking the community to consider aquatics as a part of this project. So that's one of the things when I go back to the City Commission next week, hopefully next week, if not the week after, and give them a wrap-up on these projects, that's one of the outcomes that we're going to be talking to them about and telling them this is what we heard from some of the folks, is something else they'd like to consider. Our path forward really includes the public. We want to make sure that no one, at the time that we get ready to make a recommendation to the City Commission or to the local government corporation, no one can say, honestly, I didn't know anything about it. If they say that, it's because they're not necessarily truthful, or they just moved to town, or they're hiding under a rock. The information that we're providing in these series of discussions is posted on the website, on Downtown New Orleans website. All the presentations we've made to the City Commission, to the board of the LGC, to the tours, to Downtown New Orleans, anyone, we post those for people to be able to see. We want to make sure that there's a transparency in this process to make sure that we're gathering input. Right now, we're in the discovery phase. We start with planning, with discovery. Next, we'll be doing our analysis and then coming up with recommendations. And lastly, there will be a decision that needs to be made. One thing I would leave you with is if that decision is made in August, that if the decision is made in August, the reason why it's made in August is because if there has to be an election call, by state statute, you have to have what's called pre-clearance from the Attorney General's office. So you have to go there so that you can get something on the ballot by November if there's something that actually needs to go in November. We are just, right now, we're in the discovery phase. I go through that. We're in the discovery phase. We're asking for your input. We're going to be back. If we miss it, somebody thinks about a question that you didn't ask tonight, we're accessible. Please contact us. Oh, that's what I'm trying to do. Where we're in the process. We started with RFQs. One thing we need to do is be able to give, people can say, what's the numbers, what's the budgets? Well, we want to go through a thoughtful exercise. We want to make sure that we brought the operators in and that we've actually had an intelligent basis for providing the numbers. So we went through a series of RFQs to identify architects and engineers. That RFQ was posted. It was posted on the website. There was information in the newspaper. We also went to the city and said, please tell us the list of architects that do business with the city. One of the biggest criticisms when you come into a community is you're not going to use local services. So we reached out to every single local architectural firm that the city does business with. We also reached out to some of the national firms because we wanted an architectural team that had experience in hospitality for hotels, sports and entertainment, historic renovation, as we're considering the Herring as one of the potential opportunities for the hotel, and land planning. We want to take the land plan that is presently in place, the conceptual plan, and refine that based on the input that we're receiving here and the market data that we're continuing to gather. We interviewed, we go today, three of the top three firms. All of them, all three of the interviewees had a local presence. The firm that we recommended yesterday to the local government corporation was HKS and Lavin. Tom Lavin is here this evening. His firm, that team will help us through this process. And so we're moving forward with local experience, and that will be helpful given the short time frame that we're on. We also went through a selection process for the operator of the multi-purpose event venue, and we're working on that for the hotel as well. And we'll be having updates on those processes. It's important to bring these team members along now so that as you're developing and you go forward, ultimately have a recommendation. Should the recommendation be positive going forward, you can not only tell the community this is what it costs, but this is the team that's going to go forward and see it through. With that, I shall say thank you for your kind attention, and I turn it back over to Robin so she can bring some questions. Thank you.